Hello, this is Greg Allison from Green Griggs coming to you on 9 February 22. Time on deck is 19:03 hours Central Standard Time. And I have a special guest tonight. My special guest tonight is Mike with NARPNET. Now, NARPNET is the North Alabama Regional Preparedness Network. This individual had the occasion to realize that there's a certain guy, Billy Ray, that we're all going to have to deal with when it hits the fan. And Billy Ray is going to be a problem. And because Billy Ray is going to be a problem, we're going to have to get ready for it. And he is all set up for that. He's going to explain that to us and why we need to have groups and things like that. And that's so motivated Mike that he set up NARPNET, and he's having these large organizational meetings of people within the Huntsville, North Alabama area that we're forming various little MAG groups, mutual assistance groups for survival locally here. I'd already done some of this, some other people done that, but he's really pulled it together in a real nice way, and he's put together these great presentations. And when he introduced me to Billy Ray, I realized then that this is something that you all needed to see. You all need to know Billy Ray because you're going to know him whether you want to or not. And this is really vital. This is part of my eyes wide open and head on a swivel series. So you'll know what's coming at you, and it's Billy Ray, and you're going to see this tonight. So because of that, and I bring a lot of videos to you guys about things that you need to know to survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive, which is the proposition of this channel. And you need to subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and click all to get notifications for future videos. But I always go back and double check because the platform likes to unsubscribe people to such informative channels as mine from time to time, because they're, you know, they can only handle so much good stuff going out, I reckon. I don't know. But we got tough times coming, guys. I'm really concerned with the things ahead of us. There's so many challenges. So do look at my videos on how to eat free from the weeds and the trees and how to garden and so forth. Mike and I were just talking about gardening a moment ago. But what you need to do also is get some food storage set up. And you better have some until you get a lot of stuff set up in your garden. So I got a special. If you go to prepwithgreg.com, prepwithgreg.com, link below, you can get $150 off a 3-month supply of food that lasts 25 years. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a deal that'll make you a winner. It's 2,000 calories a day. Keep hunger away. Unlike a lot of the other competitors, I'm gonna give you maybe 800 calories a day. This is good stuff. It's lightweight because it's free-dried. It reconstitutes into real food. And if you have to bug out, you can bury these buckets really easily. Your kids can carry them, you can stack them. And also, these are great to throw in your backpack if you're on maneuvers of sorts, if you know what I mean. We'll have to talk about that in the future too. So prepwithgreg.com. Also there, you can find, if you can't afford the 3-month supply, we got a deal. You can get $50 off of a 4-week supply, which is 2 of those buckets. You get 6 for 3 months, and you get 2 of them for 4 weeks. So it's a great deal. And you can find all of the kind of prep supplies there at prepwithgreg.com. When you click on the My Patriot Supply logo above it. Hey, My Patriot Supply is simply the best because they got the widest selection of anybody else in the business, and they still have stuff. And right now, you better get it while the getting's good, while the prices are what they are, because it's all going up. So just consider it an investment in the future. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Mike. Mike is a great guy, and he's trying to keep us all above water. And so, Mike, tell us about Billy Ray.
All right, let's see. Let me share real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to set you up to share. Excuse me. Pardon me, I needed to do that already. There you are.
All right. So we're going to share that one. All right, so this, as Greg mentioned, this was a presentation that was originally given at our first NARPNET meeting, and that's actually where I first met Greg. I didn't have a clue who Greg was, but I've been watching probably every video since then, and some of them have had you know, large impacts on how I think about some things. And so we've been around about 30 people a meeting, and Greg is actually going to be our speaker at our next meeting, which is on Saturday. And the topic is going to be surviving nuclear war. So I'm very interested to hear what Greg has to say on that. And I think it's a very timely subject and one that a lot of people need to understand. So let's get into this. We are This is something I normally start with. I'm not going to go into my normal little spiel on it, but I want to talk about the scope or the type of preparedness that we're talking about. So we're not talking about, you know, a 2-week storm, power outage caused by a storm or something. We're not talking about a regional catastrophe. We're talking about kind of a worst case type of scenario where the whole infrastructure, maybe the power grid, everything goes down. And this is a genuine, real problem because, you know, back in the little house on the prairie days, there really wasn't a thing anybody called preppers, because there didn't need to be, because people lived very close to the land and the soil, and they grew their own food and so forth. But now nobody knows how to grow their own food. They think of the soil as being full of disgusting things like germs and earthworms and so forth. And so we're sort of like on life support. This infrastructure is keeping us alive. And it's not resilient. It doesn't have a lot of the fail safes that it needs. And as Greg, I appreciate all the work that he's done on power grid defense. And that's very good. I wish him lots of luck. I'm preparing for when it's going to go down. I don't know when it's going to be, but I don't think it's wise to rely on that infrastructure. So we're kind of preparing for everything going down, total societal collapse. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. What Billy Ray is probably not going to be a problem in a 2-week, you know, power outage. So here is, let me introduce what we're doing, because this normally I usually do this type of thing in a room full of people. And there's kind of a connection and kind of some energy there, but we're going to give this a shot on YouTube and see if it works. So what this is it's a scenario, which means it's not perfect, right? You can poke holes in all kind of parts of it if you want, but at least engage in a little willing suspension of disbelief, right? Think of this as a fictional thought experiment about what might happen if everything goes down, if all the infrastructure is dead. There's no Kroger's, there's no power, there's no water in your house, no law enforcement, etc. We call this, in the preparedness world, there is such a thing that is talked about called mental preparedness. So I'm going to pop out here just a second. So one of the things is you need to get your mind right about stuff. You need to think about things accurately. Otherwise, you don't really know how to prepare properly unless you think all these things through. And so you kind of have to put yourself in that scenario. And one good way to do that is read post-apocalyptic fiction novels. I've been just reading them for years. I've read hundreds of post-apocalyptic fiction books. And I know they're fiction. I know they're written to make a profit and et cetera, and to be all sensational and everything, but still they represent the author's thinking about how this might go down. All right, and it can spur some thought. So, Greg, do you think that it is useful to go through this mental preparedness to try to get an idea of how this is going to be?
I think it's necessary. And the reason I think it's necessary is that so you're not a deer in the headlights, because the situations that can arise are situations that would give people shock. They would not know how to respond when these things first occur unless their mind has already went down that dark alley and they're mentally prepared for it. I believe you've got to get right in your mind with what can happen. You've got, you know, there's something called the power of attention. So people are a little bit afraid to do this, but you know, you got to, you know, do it in the right way, but you got to do some consideration for what might happen. You got to think about the worst cases, and it can be ugly. It can be horrendous. You've got to be prepared to deal with it if you're not going to lose your mind as it all happens, because you got to keep your wits about you. See what happens, a lot of people panic, and when they panic, they do stupid things that usually gets themselves and their loved ones hurt, or they're just not able to process properly. You can't even fight properly if you're panicked. And you may have a lot of adrenaline, and that may help you, and I think you'll get plenty of adrenaline anyway if you need it. But you really got to wrap your mind around these things, because a lot of people just, when confronted with situations like that, they freeze. They become catatonic, and that's absolutely the wrong thing. You can't do that. You got to know how to take action, and you got enough wits about you to take the appropriate action. So you got to be able to think. Panicking, you can't think. If you're catatonic, well, you're not doing anything. You're just you're a duck in a barrel.
Right. So we need to get our minds right about it. So let's go down this rabbit hole, shall we? All right. So here's a scenario. I'm going to just set this up. And let's just say you're a prepper, and you lived in the city for a while, and you were you're building up your food storage and your nugs and your nug food and medical supplies and stuff. But you wanted to move to the next level and start food production, because that's usually the next step that preppers go through, from just collecting supplies into food storage. And that's incredibly important, because if all you're doing is storing food and you're not producing food, then when you crack the lid on that first bucket of food, there is a timer that starts on your life. And when that food runs out, then you're a refugee. You're a desperate soul, just like everyone else. So food production. So you decided, I'm going to move out of the city, which is a good thing to get away from all the people, right? Or a lot of the people. And you moved just outside the city limits. You got a 1 acre lot. And let's just say it looks something like this. It's got a house on it, and you got a big old place back there that you can, a canvas that you can work with. And so you took this canvas and you began working and putting in gardens. And so now you got these beautiful gardens going. You've built up your soil fertility. It looks like you got some several kinds of lettuce there, maybe some I don't know, is that cabbage or broccoli maybe? You got some onions. You got some outbuildings there. Very beautiful place. Done a lot of very good work there. And you got chickens, and probably got some rabbits. You got some, looks like very good compost there. It's didn't look quite ready, but looks like you're turning it there. That's good. And the chickens help, kind of in a cattle panel hoop house maybe, so the rain doesn't wash all the nutrients away. And then the chickens poop on it, make it even better. So got that going on. And goodness, look at your food storage there. This looks like down in the basement of your house. You got some rotation for cans, and then nice shelf reliance rotation system. You got beans and rice and dehydrated onions, and looks like Charmin. Looks like you went for the good stuff on the toilet paper. You got water, gobs of stuff, lots of food storage. Good job. Oh my goodness, look at all the nugs. You got all kinds of nugs in there. You got evil black nugs, you got shot nugs, you got long distance sort of precision nug, handheld nugs on the very top. And look at all of the nug food. I don't know if you're going to be able to use all that nug food. That's a lot of stuff to go through. Got a bug out bag there on top. So you really done a good job in that department, self-defense department. This might even be your house on Christmas. All your kids there got their own nugs, American nugs, Russian nugs. Looks like they need a little trigger discipline, but they'll get the hang of it.
Santa Claus was generous.
Yes. Gobs of medical supplies, and you would be surprised how much gauze that you really need. If you've ever taken care of a serious injury, you go through gauze and gauze and gauze, and it looks like you've got it stacked deep. That's very good. You got shears and hemostats, sphygmomanometer. You got, looks like some Pepto-Bismol, blood stoppers, cold packs. You got a little go bag with a nasopharyngeal airways, betadine, irrigation syringe. You got what is that? Vitamins and ginkgo biloba extract, and a lot of over-the-counter medicines. You probably got some fish antibiotics squirreled away somewhere. Got the medical supplies squared away. I mean, you're just checking all the boxes. You got everything. So now something happened 3 weeks ago. We're 3 weeks into a full collapse scenario. Doesn't matter what happened, right? Could have been an EMP. It could have been a cyber attack. It could have been a financial collapse. It could have been domestic violence on a kind of a national scale. It could have been a fuel shortage. All of those things can cause the entire infrastructure to go down. So it doesn't matter what it is. You really shouldn't be preparing for certain scenarios. You know, that you might have, you know, certain little things that you do specific to a certain scenario, but pretty much just they're all pretty much have the same end result, is societal collapse. And you need to have beans, bullets, and band-aids and more. So all the stores are looted. There's no grocery stores. They were looted in the first week or two. All the pharmacies are cleaned out. There is official law enforcement still, except the problem is they don't have any gas to drive around in their cars. And even if they did, you don't have a way to call them because the phones are down. So, yeah, there may be official law enforcement, but it's not effective law enforcement, and they're not providing a deterrent, because really law enforcement cannot protect you from things. Even now, they cannot protect you from things. They can provide a deterrent for people to not want to do things to you. Protecting you is a you thing. That's something that you have to do. Even now, the hospital is a madhouse, a total madhouse. There's gurneys lined up all down the hallways. They've already they ran out of medical supplies about a few days ago, and they're just going around taking people's vitals and sort of waiting for them to die. I mean, it's a messed up. There's going to have to be some hard decisions down there. Of course, the power's out. There's no water into people's houses. There's no natural gas in the city. There's no sewage. And if you're in a city and you don't want to be in a lower lying area, because probably everybody's sewage is going to back up and come straight out of your toilet and flood your house with stuff. And you don't want that to happen. Generally, you're doing pretty good though in your little 1 acre homestead there. There's been a few intense encounters. You lost 3 chickens one night in the middle of the night, and since then you've been keeping watch all night because you can't afford to lose any more chickens. Somebody tried to get rabbits. You've had a few times where people came to the front gate because you have the driveway all blocked off up front, and they came up there and they didn't want to take no for an answer. But some of your shot nugs were convincing enough that they left and you hadn't seen them since. But you got your gardens going. You haven't had to break into your food storage because you still had a lot of canning jars from where you canned all your garden stuff. So you hadn't had to really get into that. And people are starting to get a little bit used to the idea, although it is kind of scary. But anyway, what you don't realize yet is that 5 miles from your house, there is a seedy little trailer park. Now, I'm not getting on trailer park people. There's plenty of fine people that live in trailer parks. And just think about where your house is right now. You might live in the city, you might live in the country, but think of, do you know everything that is in a 5-mile radius of your house? Chances are there's a few trailer parks. I mean, think about it. That's a circle 10 miles in diameter. Chances are there's some places where not so savory characters exist. And Billy Ray isn't the only type you have to deal with. We'll introduce Billy Ray in a second, but there's also people like Stan the accountant that when he gets desperate, there's no telling what he's going to do to be able to feed his daughter. But 5 miles away in a seedy little trailer park, in the back of that trailer park, there's an old rundown trailer. And in that trailer, there is a nasty green couch. And on that couch is Billy Ray. So this is Billy Ray. He spends, look at his eyes. Now, he may be a little glazed over at the moment, but he is not stupid. He is a cunning, sneaky sort of guy. You know, criminals and druggies and stuff, some of them are just dumb as a box of rocks, but some of them aren't. And Billy Ray is one of those people that ain't stupid. He doesn't have a lot of self-control. He doesn't make very good decisions, but he ain't stupid. And so when all this went down and there was all the looting going on, he got in touch with his hunting buddies and his drinking buddies, and them and their girlfriends went and did some looting. Here's Billy Ray's crew. This is his buddies. They got looks like lots of shot nugs there. A couple of evil black nugs on the right. Looks like, I don't know, looks like Vietnam era 20-inch nugs there. Anyway, these are guys you don't really want to meet up with. But they went down to the Walmart and they pushed and shoved, and they just filled up the back of a pickup truck. I mean, it was just heaping over, stuff falling out of there. And they got home and they thought they had it made. They thought they had enough food for months and months. Well, them and their girlfriends, turns out that wasn't nearly as much food as they thought it was. And they ran out of food in about 4 weeks. And once the food started running out, the girlfriends left. They're gone. Don't know where they went. But now this crew of people not only is hungry, but they're also wanting some kind of form of companionship, if you know what I mean. It's getting a little dark, but this is that's just part of it. All right, so they got hungry and they started hitting some houses. The first one's just old people. The first few were old people because they were easy. They were easy, nice, trusting folks. And Billy Ray can be pretty persuasive, you know, just he can pretend like he's a nice guy. And they got quite a bit of cannon jars from this one lady. She looked like they were from like 1957 or something, but they were all right. And so they ran across one guy though. And he was some old Vietnam vet, and he was a lot tougher than they thought he was. And Moonshine Man down here on the lower left, he got shot, and they hauled him back to Billy Ray's trailer. and it took him about 5 days to die. And they decided after that they're going to have to be a lot smarter about this. And they found them some little walkie-talkie things, and they figured they're going to watch a place before they attack it and see if this looks like it's an easy place to hit. And they're going to spread out, get angles on the place, and they can communicate, figure out how they're going to do it. All right, so this is what they've been up to. Not only have they been hitting these houses and doing horrible things, but they've also been learning. They've been getting better at it. They've been developing experience and skill in knocking over these houses, raiding these houses, killing people and worse, taking their stuff, building up more stuff, building up more supplies, more nugs, more nug food, more equipment like radios, more capabilities. So now back to your place. It's been another about 6 weeks. So now you're somewhere around week 10. And things, you're starting to get quite nervous because now you're spending almost all of your time on security, and you haven't done anything in the garden. I mean, the kids and wife have done stuff in the garden, and we tried to have some more people take over a little bit of security, but you've been trying to be the main man on the security front because you don't really want to put people out there in danger. And you've been hearing the shooting and the screaming off in the distance, and it over the last several weeks it's gotten closer and closer. And just the other night it seemed like it was only about 1 block over, and it always is pretty much the same. The shooting starts and the screaming starts, and then the shooting will die off and it'll just be screaming and screaming and screaming. A few more shots and then it's all silent. And you sit there on watch, waiting, making sure it's not coming into your place. And the problem is that you realize, see, you've gotten about in the last 4 or 5 days, you've probably only gotten about 7 or 8 hours worth of sleep. And you know that very soon your body is going to involuntarily just shut you down and you are going to sleep for a while. And you know that that's going to happen. You don't want to send anybody else out on security. You want to do it all. I mean, I get it and all that, but that's what's going to happen. And so this evening you went out and you were going to do your security duty, go out the front door, go over to the side of the house, and you made the mistake of sitting down on the little brick wall and leaning back against the house. You could see the front door, you can see the tree line, good place. But then your body just said, you're done. And you slumped back against the wall. And shortly thereafter, Billy Ray sticks a knife in your throat. And the last thing you see as you open your eyes as you're bleeding out on the ground is you see Billy Ray's crew here, Big Bubba in the middle, breaking down your front door, going after your family in there. And the last thought that goes through your mind is, what could I have possibly done better? I had all the food, I had all of the medical supplies, I had all of the nugs and all of the nug food. I had food production. I had everything. What could I possibly have done to prevent this? And the very last thing, as you're losing consciousness, a little blip of honesty pops up and says, the prep that you forgot, the necessary ingredient that you didn't have was people. You need to have more people in order to provide adequate security. You have to have more people in order to provide adequate security.
Amen.
So let me ask you, Greg, you were in the Army. Well, first of all, I have a few more slides on the solution to the Billy Ray problem. But is this scenario, is this way out of left field? Is this just crazy talk?
Not at all. This happens in situations like this. You know, you look at some of the countries where it's hit the fan in their countries. You look at, if you go into Bosnia during that war there are people written about what they had to go through. And it was uglier than what you're describing here. It was very ugly. And the only way they survived was having plenty of people who knew how to hug a nug. You know, they knew how to get real friendly with their nug and hug it good and tight and feed it a lot of good nug nutrients. So this is a situation that you need people, because you've got to sleep at some point. At some point, you're liable to get sick. No, Billy Ray, he's kind of watching around just to see maybe if you're a little off your game. He might be doing that before he hits. I mean, when he gets hungry enough, he's going to go after everybody anyway. But it'll be full-blown firefights all over the place, and then he'll get bigger gangs will grow, they'll get bigger, they'll get more militant over time. It don't get better, it just keeps getting worse. The lone wolf prepper has very little chance on long term, and that's the way it's been in places where these things have gone down. Very little chance. I mean, you'll make it a little bit longer than the neighbor maybe. Oh no, yeah, that graphic you showed had a guy with a tarp on his roof. It might have been Billy Ray next door. I say that as a joke. I've actually got a tarp on my roof right now. I got to get a repair work done. But yeah, you just never know how many Billy Rays there are out there. You got to think about this. 1 out of 100 people are full-blown psychopaths. They have no empathy. It's just whatever they want. And the number of sociopaths are very similar. You know, sociopaths also don't have empathy. So psychopath though is totally open lip. He'll do anything. When they're starving, sociopaths will do anything. In fact, when you got to feed your kids, regular people will turn to do just about anything.
There's a lot of people on like psychiatric medication and antidepressants and everything to keep them stable. What are those people going to do?
That's where it's going to be ugly. There's a big portion of our population taking psychotropic drugs, and they're not going to be there. A lot of people are going to become unglued in so many ways. They're not going to have react. A lot of them are going to be angry. They're going to be angry at the world, angry at everything, and they'll be lashing out. But most of them are going to be hungry and thirsty. So they're going to be hunting resources. And then again, like you said, Billy Ray might just want a girlfriend for a night, for a few minutes. The history of these kind of things is very ugly. And includes, you know, even in warfare, invading armies have done atrocious things to those they've invaded. And you'll expect the same kind of thing in a situation like this. And this even goes back to tribal warfare. This is nothing new. Nothing new. It's human nature. And this is played out time and time and time and time again in conflicts and in times of stress and starvation. It's not going to be pretty. There's going to be nothing glorious about it, except you just got to figure out that you've got to have the right people with you to have your back, to watch your six, and to cover each other. You need to be able to form squads. And a squad has two teams that are nug friendly, if you know what I mean. And these two nug friendly teams might be able to go out and jointly, if you know how to do this, take out that guy who's going to be laying wait for you in the bushes with that big long nug who's got that long range capability of taking people out when they don't know it. Because they're going to be watching you too. So you're going to have various different threats. You're going to have the Billy Rays, and then you got that guy who is the hiding in the bushes, just waiting for an opportunity. and he may go to people he knows got nugs, because that's a resource to him, and he probably figures he can take it on. And there'll be other people out there like that too. So this is absolutely something you got to bear in mind, and this will help you fortify whatever you've got. It'll help you deal with what's coming at you, to have resources of people that are capable. And so they've got to be nug friendly. They got to know how to hug a nug. But beyond that, they've got to know, they got to be willing to work too, because in a situation like this, you got to scratch hard for a living. You got to work real hard to maintain your method of growing food and other little skills that you've got to have and know for day-to-day life. Because now you're hand washing clothes. You are having to make your own tools and implements however you can, because you're not going to the store to buy anything anymore. The stores are gone. They're over. You got to make everything, every tool, everything you use from here forward, because that day is gone.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people talk about barter, and I think we ought to be ready to barter, and barter is going to be a good thing. But one of the things about barter is it is going to be an extremely dangerous thing. And that's, see, this channel turned me onto a couple of things that have changed my way of thinking about this. I kind of had subconsciously thought about it in a way that wasn't right. So Ron Hollerman suggested several books, but one of those was Selko Bogovich's book, something like The Dark Secrets of SHTF. I can't remember. I think that was it. So I read the book. I shortly thereafter, I read the whole book. And barter was very dangerous. Not only could you get ripped off, but you could just get killed for the stuff that you have. And then that way, it's a lot easier on them. They get a lot of free stuff. Also, if there's a barter meeting or a flea market or something, just getting there is going to be a dangerous thing. But one of the things that I learned from Selko, I had been thinking about what it would be like in a kind of a SHTF without rule of law sort of environment. Is it, and I rationally, I know this isn't right, but subconsciously I identified that I'd kind of been thinking about it in terms of it'll be like normal minus the grocery store. So what do I do to be independent of the grocery store? And it'll be normal minus the power grid and utilities. So I have a well and I have some solar stuff, etc. And it'll be normal minus law enforcement. So what do I do to compensate for law enforcement? And that's really not the way to look at it. And Selko basically said it's not anything like that. Its normal has been blown into little pieces and carried away by the wind. And the only thing that's left, and these are Hollerman's words, and I believe he chose them carefully. The only things that's left is chaos, desperation, and insanity. Chaos, desperation, and insanity. And what our job as preppers are going to be, as people who want to survive this thing, is to define a perimeter, a piece of ground, and be able to defend that perimeter and keep the chaos, desperation, and insanity on the outside, and have something that is orderly and maybe reasonably peaceful and sustainable on the inside. And you just simply can't do that by yourself. So let me ask you, I'll put you on a spot. Used to be in the military. So let's think about in terms of setting up an LPOP, an observation post, or maybe even, and a lot of times there's a sniper involved. There's, snipers are primarily about observing and reporting. How many people, if you want to maintain a position for 24 hours a day, let's say for 2 weeks, you're observing, how many people do you need to maintain that, to set up that position and keep it observing 24 hours a day?
You need at least 3 people to rotate in and out. At least
Right.
at least 3.
So
And-
one guy observing, one guy sleeping, and one guy doing all the camp stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I've always heard.
And you probably go crazy if you're observing the whole time. So he's got to have a relief. Doing the camp stuff's going to be a little bit of relief to him. So yeah, you need to rotate it, and you need in addition to that, you need at least a couple of teams that would go into a squad. And a squad, you know, what your teams need to be 3 or 4 people at least. You know, if you got 5 or 6, that's okay. And you need a squad. You absolutely.
So now you're talking about a non-substantial, I mean, a non-trivial amount of people. You're talking about, in order to do all of your food production and all this sort of stuff and maintain security, you're talking 15 or 20 people.
Oh,
so let me go back in. Let's talk about what a preparedness group is, and or what it's not, and what it is. And
so you've got to have at least 9 who are nug friendly, but you got to have other people, you know, to do the other everyday things you have to do just to live, survive, grow food, prepare food, you know, repair clothing. Your clothes are going to be wearing out, ripping, and coming apart. You know, what are you going to do? This cloth that we like to wear in our society today really is fragile. It's a time limited item. So how are you going to keep yourself clothed? And you might have some great fantasy about a nudist camp. I'm gonna tell you what, you got your first thing is protect yourself from the elements, and you're going to discover real fast you're going to need that clothing, whatever your fantasies may or may not be. So yeah, I'm just picking at that with a little fun guy. You know, you got to throw a little humor in everything, but you got to have you're going to have good clothing and good shelter, because you know you got the rules of 3s. You can only survive 3 minutes with air. You can only without air. Excuse me. You only survive 3 hours exposed to the elements. That's where your clothing and shelter come in. You got to have water within 3 days, and then you got to have food within 30 days. So that's the rules of 3s you got to keep in mind. So the shelter, in the first shelter is your clothing. The second shelter is whatever you got to rehead. Tents and tarps wear out too. They wear out pretty fast, especially if they're the low quality ones you buy in a lot of your stores. A trucker tarp is a lot better than just something you buy at Harbor Freight, for example. The special will last you just a few weeks, and the winds will just tear it to tatters.
We usually, when we get rid of clothes, when kids outgrow them, or we decide we need to just get rid of some clothes, we usually send them like to thrift stores or whatever. But lately we've started keeping them. We got us some 55-gallon open top drums, and she'll wash them all up and make them nice and fold them up, and we'll stuff them down in those drums. Because if we can't use them, then maybe somebody else can. So how are we doing on time?
We're 46 minutes into it. So if we keep us to an hour, it'd be good. If we need more time, we can do it.
All right, we'll go just a few more slides here, if that's all right.
All right. So we got to keep Billy Ray from putting us into a pig sticker.
All right. So the solution to the Billy Ray problem, as we've talked about, is preparedness groups. Some people call them MAGs, mutual assistance groups. Some people call them crews or teams or whatever. I really don't like the name groups. I like the name teams, but I've just been calling them preparedness groups.
I refer to them as tribes. Some people don't like
tribes. Yeah. So the primary reason for being part of a preparedness group is you got to have security. You got to sleep sometime. You got to defend that perimeters to keep the chaos on the outside. But also, there are some economies of scale that you can get on food production. I mean, there's one thing to have a little garden for you, but then, like, I have a little 60 by 60 area that is right next to a big grassy area. I could expand that out to, you know, about a football field size if I needed to. But the thing is I can expand it 4 times as big as it is now, but it probably isn't going to take 4 times as much work. So there's some economies of scale that you might could get with food production. Many Many hands make light work, they say. More brains, more backgrounds, more experience in life can help you from making bad decisions, bad mistakes. And it's definitely the general consensus among all the major prepper people out there, including people like Selco and Furfowl who've actually been through these things. Both of them say you just can't get through it without people. Selco had about 10 people in his family there that they were surviving with. What a preparedness group is not. It's not simply a collection of people who are interested in preparedness. So a group of preppers doesn't make a preparedness group. It's not an interest group. It's not a group of folks who might help each other in dangerous times. I mean, a lot of us are good folks and we would help each other, but we don't have any sort of obligations. This is not a might or a maybe or a if I can sort of thing. And so you might be involved with a lot of, groups like, you might go to meetings like, such like we're hosting. That's not a preparedness group. That's just a bunch of people gathered into one spot. A preparedness group, what it is, they plan in advance to rely on each other, right? They have a certain set of people, a certain group of people, and they plan in advance, and they might divvy out the, sort of the roles. Sally is in charge of the kitchen and canning, and Bobby is kind of the main security guy, and you may have a nurse that is coordinating the medical stuff, and somebody else is gardening and animals and so forth, and so they plan to get to converge and help each other. And that's one of the things is they plan in advance to co-locate, to go to one specific spot. And that's what gets a lot of people is they're very comfortable with the idea of staying in their own house and maybe trading with somebody down the street. But that doesn't solve the Billy Ray problem. The thing that solves the Billy Ray problem is for people to be co-located defending the same perimeter. Otherwise, we're just a bunch of lone wolves that are trading and helping each other from a distance. That doesn't solve the problem. So a lot of these groups have specific requirements, and a lot of their things are written. You join the group, you might have to take an oath and sign papers, right? So it's kind of a serious thing. It's an obligation.
You're serious because your life depends on it. It is
exactly
life. It is very serious, and it's like getting married, or maybe more so, because you're committing to each other to save each other's lives. You're committing your honor, your lives to each other, to defend each other, and most marriages don't do that. But it also means you got to know and trust who you're bringing in. So you better vet them. You better do a background check. You need to if you're joining a group, know what group you're going into. If you've got a property and you're bringing people in, know what kind of people you're bringing into your group. You need people who are good people at heart, but willing to fight and work hard.
Exactly. And a lot of times these groups will have specific plans on how to deal with certain situations. Like, how do you deal with somebody coming to the front gate wanting food, right? How do you deal with when you see somebody running across trying to get some chickens or chasing a goat or something? How do you deal with that? What are your rules of engagement and all of that? Like sort of like standard operating procedure type stuff.
It's crucial because everybody has different thresholds, and you can't allow people just to walk away with everything you've got. You're going to starve to death. Yet some people psychologically are not prepared for what they have to do to defend their food and livelihood. Because they think, well, it's just a meal, it's just a chicken, but it's also your kids, you're starving. That's a very tough thing to deal with, and you got to suddenly think different. Because now it's your survival; it's a different world, and you got to your empathy, your loyalty has to be with the people in your group, not taking care of everybody else. And here's another challenge. Everybody wants to bring in their aunt, their uncle, their cousin, their sister, You got to have a limit as to how many people you bring in, because now you're packing 10 to 15 people on a little property, and you still got to produce food. So you've got a finite limit of how many folks can come in, who gets there. So that's got to be agreed to in advance too. Who is on the inside has to be well understood, because everybody you bring in wants to also bring in somebody else. And suddenly you got the whole city living on your little half-acre lot, and that's just not going to cut it. So you have to have a lot of limits. You have to have things, and everybody's got to understand that going in, because most people haven't wrapped their mind around that. And everybody loves a whole lot of other people that just can't fit. And that's just the way it is. There's a lot of tough decisions that has to be made to run a group like that. And people have to commit to it. They've got to be committed to the tough decisions and the group dynamic it takes to get forward.
Yeah, a lot of tough decisions. And the thing is you want to make as many of those tough decisions as you possibly can in advance while you're thinking straight, right? You don't want to be.
If you're trying to make those decisions, once you're already together, it's going to blow your group apart.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to agree on these things. You're not going to agree. You're not going to be of the same mind, and you'll have that chaos is going to exist inside your perimeter.
Yeah, exactly. And that is probably one of the big things. I mean, even now, I'm aware of many groups that have started and then they've fallen apart because of problems with interpersonal relationships. And if they can't hold it together now, how are they possibly going to hold it together and all of that stuff? So you really have to have things organized, written down. Everybody has to agree to it, right? And understand what it is. So it's work. It's work to set up, and it's hard to find people. It's hard to find good people. And so you got to work at it. And it's weird. I mean, I'm in the process of doing this. It's weird developing relationships with people on purpose that you've never met before, trying to get to know them. Because usually these things happen in some kind of context like church or work, but there's no context here. And you just got to find people and you got to work with them and develop trust in them. And that's just weird.
It would probably be best. It would be best if the group has the time and can afford it. It would be far better if you start working together now, and maybe go to the farm and help out if it's the farm. If you've got the property, see what kind of commitment the people really have to working together, because that's when you're going to discover you got the problems. You may all think you get along until you get together. You may all even sign documents, but it's when you're together, working together, you really see what the group dynamic is. And you discover that Bob over there has got a real anger management issue, and he throws off the handle every time and actually won't do anything. And all the time you thought he was a good worker and a really nice guy. He was always smiling and shaking your hand and congratulating you and telling you how great and wonderful you were, until he comes in there. Now he's mad and he's not going to do anything, and he's threatening to tear everything up.
Yeah. I'm reading, I have found one book. That's it. One book on preparedness groups. And that's one of the things they say is in order to keep your group together, you're going to have to do things together, like on a monthly basis or whatever. And it's an investment. All right, let's look at a couple more things. All right, so that looks like the end of my slides. But yeah, so let me bring up one more thing. So let's say that you have a preparedness group, and let's say that you're in a collapse situation. Everything's going good. You're keeping the zombies on the outside, and zombies in the prepper world, nobody's preparing for zombies. Zombies are a metaphor for starving, desperate people. That's all they are. Because once they get to a certain amount of hunger, they become mentally unstable, and that's all they think about is food. It doesn't matter what they have to do it. You have very nice people turning into total raging wackos. It's very appropriate metaphor. But you're keeping the zombies on the outside. Everything is going smoothly, right? You're getting it on. But now a little girl, Allie, daughter of one of the group members, starts complaining of stomach aches, and then they're bad and they're getting worse. And what your nurse lady diagnoses it as appendicitis. And now she says that appendix is eventually going to burst, and Allie is going to get sepsis and die a slow, horrible death while her parents watch. How are you going to handle that situation? You don't have a surgeon. You don't even have a veterinarian. And the way that you handle that is after you get your group together, or maybe before, you've got to start making contacts with other people and other groups. And you've got to establish some way to communicate get as many groups to be able to communicate with as possible, so that you have somebody to reach out for. Maybe that group maybe your friendly group, 10 miles away, maybe they don't have a surgeon either, but they know this guy. He was a doctor up in the big house at the end of the street, and he can be a surgeon. And now that there's at least hope. And so that's really what NARPNET is about, is trying to not only trying to foster the development of groups, but also trying to foster communications between them. And I think that groups, see, Americans are so independent, rugged individualism, and I think that's a great thing, right? We ought to be self-dependent, self-sufficient, and all that. But that kind of works against us in this environment, because we're going to have to put ourselves in a situation as I'm going to abandon where I am, and I'm going to go to this other place with these other people so that we can defend it. And I am not going to be the king of my castle anymore. And that is something that we're going to have to get over in order to form the groups. And then we really have to get communication. There is power in being able to communicate.
If you go into somebody else's property, you got to remember it's theirs. It's their property. You need to give allowance for that and give appreciation for that. So many people today are ungrateful. You better be grateful for anybody that extends a hand to you to come to their place, and try to help them out. I really give a genuine effort to try to help them out. Some people will go to another property and they just start finding faults. That's all they can do. And that's like that Bob guy is talking about. And I'm sure there's a lot of nice Bobs. I got some good friends named Bob, by the way. So I'm not trying to, it's just a name I'm picking. But it could be anybody. So you just never know. This is important. We've got to form these networks. We got to get them going, and that's what Mike is doing here with NARPNET. I've been doing this to some degree with my little tribes list and on a national level. And I've started a mag group here, and we did have a Bob and it came along and it kind of blew us apart. So we're in the process of reformulating, or we got to do that. So that's I'm behind in that curve because of that. And we all have our daily lives too. Lives are super busy, but we've got to put some time and effort into this, because we may not be here when it's all blown over. The best preps in the world aren't going to see you through this. It's what you do in this area. This gives you the real chance of making it.
Yeah, we need to have people. People are one of our most important preps. If we don't have people, somebody is going to take the rest of our stuff. Yeah,
and I'd like to make a point. You talked about how you might have to make contact with this person over there. It's not inside your perimeter. So what do you do when you travel outside your perimeter, either to take the little girl there, or maybe because she's too sick to travel, you got to go get the doctor and bring him back, and then take him back to his place if he so chooses. He might want to stay with your group, and I'd be happy to have him. But then again, you're limited in your property, so maybe you can't take anybody else, and you need to take them home. But you just can't walk up there and get him and bring him back. You need to have an escort.
Mm-hmm.
With somebody with some friendly nuts.
Yeah, that's going to be a significant effort to provide security for that. You need
at least to have a team to go with you. Maybe not the whole squad. Somebody's got to stay home. But that's why squads have teams in them. Then
Yep.
squads form platoons. Platoons form companies. You don't have enough resources probably to support a platoon, but a squad would be just right.
Right. There's just a lot of stuff to think about when you're thinking about this type of environment. And it's important that we try to get an accurate picture and we think of all the things that we're going to need. Like, you're going to have to do laundry, right? You're going to have to wash dishes. How are you going to wash dishes? You're going to have to, your septic system isn't big enough to hold to support all of those people, right? So you're going to have to come up with some other kind of septic thing. I've got books on wells and septic systems. You got to think about the whole enchilada.
Amen. So there's a lot of thinking to do, and that's where it helps to have a lot of minds also in the group. Everybody working together constructively. And if you are a property owner, if you are the person that's inviting these people in, just appreciate that if you give these people participation in some of these group things like that, they feel a piece of ownership in it from having participated in that. Let them help form some of the rules. You should have the final say so. If it's your property, you can't have something that just gives your place away. But at the same time, you're not going to have a place at all and be there to occupy it if you don't get some help. So you are in it together, and you're really going to need these other people. But if you're going to, like I said, if you're going to somebody else's property, be grateful, be thankful, and show that appreciation,
right,
work and effort.
And you are going to, if you're going to survive this, you're going to link up with other people. And you can either choose who those people are now, or you can sign on to be somebody else's servant, right? And you're gonna empty out the poop buckets for a cup of rice a day or something, right? You need to it'd be better to work this out now.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, they may not have a position available as a poop bucket scooper. So,
oh, that one's already been filled. Sorry.
You might be lucky to get that job. So you better think about it, and you better appreciate it if you do get it. If you get the job to be the poop bucket scooper, be grateful. You're on the inside. You might survive because of it.
Right.
Every chore is vital. Everything matters. So don't think that things, if you think things are beneath you, you got a problem. You've got a problem. You better re-examine who you are and where you're at. You might think you're some high and mighty whatever, but you're nothing.
Oh,
yes. What happens? Forget all the pretenses. Forget your degrees. Forget your credentials. Forget all that stuff. It's nothing. It's gone.
Yes. There is one other prep I wanted to mention. I've been listening. All right. So, about that EMP commission report that said if this stuff goes, if infrastructure goes down, that like 90% of the population will be dead in the first year. And you say that's optimistic, and I think I probably tend to agree.
Yeah, I watch another channel, a really big YouTube channel, who thinks that's pessimistic, and I think he hasn't wrapped his noodles around it. He's got he's a good analyst, but he's missed this one. I'm not going to call him out, but there's another really big YouTube channel, Prepper channel, where he's kind of doubting that stuff. He's throwing sand at it. I'm thinking, you missed a boat.
I hope he's right, but I want to be prepared if he's wrong.
Bingo, exactly. Right. Let's hope this stuff don't happen. But guys, if we don't do anything, the sun's going to take down our grid if we don't get it hard.
Right. So, given that, all right. So I think preppers are going to have a big leg up on surviving this, right? But there is still no guarantee that you are going to be one of those 10% that are alive. I've been listening to this song, Creedence Clearwater Revival song called Bad Moon Rising. I've just been almost listening to it on loop for the past 2 weeks.
Wow.
And on the third verse, it's an awesome prepper song. That's not really, I don't think it was his original intention. I think the original idea was the thoughts of a soldier in the Vietnam War. But the first 2 lines of the third verse says, "Hope you got your things together. Hope you are quite prepared to die. And I think that is also a very important part of preparedness, because the odds are stacked against you 9-1.
Well,
and we need to have it clear in our mind and in our heart that we are ready to leave this world. Now, it could be whatever you think, you gotta be at peace with the fact that you might have to leave this world. I mean, you're going to leave the world eventually anyway, but you need to kind of think about that and make sure you got that prep squared away.
Yeah, I see over your right shoulder, you've got a book that a lot of people go to for solace in that. And over your left shoulder, you got a book that I'm going to use as source material for my talk Saturday.
Oh, can you read those books?
Oh yeah, Nuclear Survival, Holy Bible. Those are both good books.
Here's one. Here's a good one.
How to Be Like Mike. Well, you are Mike. You don't have to be like Mike. You are Mike.
That's why I got the book. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So, and humor is also important, but and sometimes you can mix humor with this this idea of getting mentally prepared. The military does it, for example. Like songs like "Blood on the Risers," "Gory, Gory, what a hell of a way to die." That is preparing you mentally for, hey, you may not make it. This is a dicey thing, whether you're jumping out of an airplane or, in this case, just trying to survive on your little square that you're trying to defend. You're trying to keep the sanity to some modicum of being able to live with it within your perimeter. You're always going to have some, people dynamics. That always occurs. But and so there's always going to be a little bit of drama, but it shouldn't be anything like what's on the outside of the perimeter. You just have to bond to each other and try to get through these tough times. Just like this, same thing a married couple has to do. Well, you've got to do that as a group too. You've got to be able to get through these little interpersonal drama items and try to keep the group together. But mainly, you've got to mentally prepare. You've got to be ready for what comes and be. And I've told people many times, I've said, be right with your maker. Get right with your maker. And also make sure you tell people you love that you love them every chance you get. You don't know. It's a good thing to do anytime. That's always a good thing to do. That's what you ought to be doing anyway. But you never know when's the last chance you'll get to do that. So if you lose somebody, you're going to lose a lot of people in a situation like that. At least they knew you loved them. Whether it's you that's gone and no longer able to tell them that again, or you've lost them. Always do that. Our bodies don't last forever. I believe our souls do, but our bodies don't. So we just have to be prepared for that. And like you said, be willing and ready to meet your maker. But sometimes that's just part of what the spirit it takes to fight and get through it for the group survival. For the group survival, which includes your kids, your family, your friends, you got to stick your neck out sometimes. And that's what's called bravery. And it's a matter of honor to each other to do that. People don't know what honor is anymore. That's important. We got to remember what honor is, what commitment means, and mentally prepare yourselves for the ugliest, worst things that can happen. And again, that's why there's songs like "Blood on the Risers." Sounds gross, but it's a dark humor too. And maybe the humor helps sometimes. Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. Or C-130 rolling down the strip, airborne daddy going to take a little trip, and that song. I think I've sung that before on my channel. Stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door, jump right out and count to 4. If my chute don't open wide, I got another one by my side. If that one should fail me to move your, I'm coming through. I watch the language I use on this channel, so. We didn't say when we was marching in the military. So, but you got to mix a little humor in with it sometimes. But but it also mentally prepares you that this ain't pretty. It can get very ugly, very gory. And if you've got to be in a combat situation, it's ugly. But it's probably. But the survivors that survived Bosnia and places, they describe it like just continuous combat. They're facing stuff all the time. So
Right.
you gotta toughen up. We're not talking about a walk in the park anymore, guys. Everybody's gonna have to toughen up and resolve to stand by each other's side, have each other back to back. Now I got one thing for teamwork I'm gonna say, my final thing. And I mentioned this in my very first video where I talked about forming tribes and groups back a couple of years ago. When I was a kid, probably 10 years old, maybe 11, I don't know. Me and my best friend, we had this sport of aggravating wasps. Because a wasp would sting you. I'd been stung a few times, so we decided that it was great sport to pick on them. And we would agitate a wasp nest for weeks, and then we'd eventually wipe them out. We'd kill them, you know, on the eve of a house. Somewhere we'd throw rocks or sand at them, and we'd run. Eventually, we'd hit it with water or something, knock it down, and stomp them. Well, one summer we had a well house, and one summer the entire inside of the well house just filled up with wasp nests. I've never seen so many wasp nests in my life in one place. It was just covered inside with wasp nests, and I would not ever recommend this. Is, you know, it's 1,000 miracles I'm alive today. I shouldn't be here just for this alone. I mean, this was insane, absolutely insane. So don't do this. Do not replicate what I'm about to say. But I got a friend, Stephen Henson. Maybe I should get him on the channel one day. He's a good old boy down on Sand Mountain, and he is my best friend growing up. And I'll tell you what, we decided we were going to go in that well house and kill all those wasps, just him and I. And we each had a piece of well hose, that rubber hose. We had about 3-foot section, each one of us in a hand. And there was a hose pipe connection in the well house. You know, we had that turned on, and I had the spray nozzle. We were in there back to back, spraying water and beating wasps. And they were flying around, and we were swatting them and beating the nest. Steve and I killed every wasp in that well house. Neither one of us got a single sting. And, you know, we probably went through the experience just so that we would have the knowledge when we got through of the power of people having each other's back. Yeah, it wasn't really a nice thing to do in hindsight, but we were crazy young boys. You know, boys are insane by definition. And that was an insane thing to do. and looking back, how did we survive that? That was off the charts nuts, but we did. And we only survived it, and only could have survived something like that by being back to back. But we really had like a cloud of wasps flying around us. We were swatting them, pow, 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 and we beat the nest, and we wiped them. We sprayed them because, you know, wasps can't stay in the water. But we trusted each other to do that. That was the other crazy thing. We actually knew each other because we'd both been doing this stuff. We trusted each other. We had each other's back, and against the worst, craziest odds, we prevailed. And that's the hope. If you got good partners and you really trust each other and you got each other's back, you can make it through. You got a better chance. You know, being one of the 10%, you got a better chance of it. So that's how we have to think of, have each other's back for the worst of times. And even though it might seem like there's a whole cloud of opponents out there, you just might make it through. Because especially if you got a little fortification of some type in your defendant, because it's always hard to take those than not. Of course, there's always those groups that specialize in knocking down fortifications. And who knows, maybe one day you'll have to go maneuvers. Maybe that'll be a subject of another video. Well, that's dangerous too, because you can get ambushed. But oh well, that's just, I think that's a good final note for me. The value of people having each other's backs, and that's what a mag group gives you. A good mag group, you know each other, you trust each other, and you got each other's back.
That's right. I think it said two are better than one, and a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken.
There you go. That's what it boils down to. Strength in numbers and resolve. So, Mike, I really appreciate that, because, you know, I think this is a vital message to get out. And I think Billy Ray just kind of underscores it. And there's not just one Billy Ray in that 5-mile radius. There's going to be a bunch of them, unfortunately.
Yep. Well, it was a pleasure coming on, and look forward to hear what you have to say at the NARPNET meeting. It's 10 a.m. Saturday, the 12th, just this coming Saturday, Huntsville, Alabama. It's the Downtown Public Library Auditorium, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I always call it Fort Book. It's Fort Book next to the First Baptist Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, where they got the cosmic egg beater Christ. If you know Huntsville, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Egg beater, yeah. I've heard it called that too.
Yeah.
Fort Buck is very appropriate too. It looks like a penitentiary or something. Yeah.
The library does. That church has got a big mural on the front. It's Jesus up top, but the legs look like an egg beater or something. It's funny looking, but it's interesting. All right, so that's pretty much what we got to cover tonight, folks. We got to work. We got to start working together. We better start doing it now. So we don't know what's coming at us. I don't. Even if this thing happens in Ukraine, I don't think it's going to come here immediately, but it's going to keep escalating and boiling. If it's not Ukraine, it might be Taiwan. It might be North Korea, or maybe just the sun takes us.
Well, even if all of that works out swimmingly and we don't get into it with Russia and we don't get into it with China, we've still got serious supply chain problems coming in the next year, and some financial problems possibly. Both of those things. I think I said it before. The supply chain is like the vascular system of the critical infrastructure. Lots of stuff can cause it to go down. So we have to be ready.
Well, we're $30 trillion in debt, and it's projected to skyrocket even way higher by the end of the decade. It's just the projections are off the charts. So how long can you keep playing these games?
Yep.
That's it. The wheels are going to come off the train if something don't change. All right, my friend Mike, thank you so very much for being on the channel tonight. I want to thank everybody else for watching. Everyone have an awesome night. I will be live later tonight. Many of you will be watching us a day or two later, and that's fine. So just check all the videos on my channel. If you're local, we'll be at the library 10 a.m. On the 12th. Again, that's the public library downtown Huntsville, Alabama. And with that, I'm going to say Greg out.